What's up, ladies and gents? Thank you very much for stopping by the channel. This is Nurse Student Possibilities, Social Nurse. There's an article on the Washington Post that I am going to reference in this commentary. This commentary is about Sage Steele, ESPN sports journalist, and she had an interview with Jay Cutler, who is a football player. Well, in the interview, race was part of the subject matter, and Sage still responded to some questions. Let me first say this. The topic race is very hot buttonish. People can get offended, they can get their feelings hurt. All kinds of things can happen surrounding the topic of race. Let's just let it be known for those who don't know, Sage Steele is a biracial woman. When she was asked about the topic of race or subjects on race, she responds and stands fast in her opinion, in her beliefs about herself and about being biracial. She stands fast on her opinion. So from the Washington Post, Steele touched on race, telling a story about how she once got ripped on live TV because she insisted on identifying as biracial, which she described as a huge blessing in the best of both worlds. If that's her opinion, I think she's entitled to it. And it absolutely is a fact that her parents are from two ethnic groups or racial categories, if you will. So that's a fact, which would make her biracial in simplest terms, right? She then talked about one of the TV show's hosts pushed her to choose black or white. The host told her the Census Bureau allowed people to select only one, and that Obama, who is also biracial, had chosen black. In quotes, here's what Steele is saying in this Washington Post article. Quote, I'm like, well, congratulations to the president. That's his thing. I think that's fascinating considering his black dad was nowhere to be found. But his white mom and grandma raised him. But hey, you do you, and I'm going to do me. End of quote. Really, the part about the black dad and the white mom and grandma raising him, those are facts. It's a fact that his father was nowhere around and that he was raised by these white women, and they did raise a president. These are facts. So, I mean, to, get mad at her about her opinion, I think she's entitled to that. And her opinion includes fact, as well as I think we can recognize that what happens is a lot of times, excuse me, I have a common cold and the sniffles here, so forgive me for sniffling in this video. But what happens is these people are placed in a situation where they're forced to talk about these subjects, or people want them to talk about it. And I believe they do it so that they can definitely, possibly get a response from that person, that biracial person, that will be seen as controversial or disliked by some people. And as a matter of fact, guess who jumped on the bandwagon of let's talk about Sage Steele's opinions and beliefs? Joy Reid. Joy Reid of MSNBC. She's a political or news anchor. And this woman, Joy Reid, is I believe first generational American. Her father's somewhere from the Congo out there in Africa somewhere. And her mother is from Guyana, right? So she has something to say. And I'm not surprised at her response, Joy Reid's response. Let's read Joy Reid's response. The American construct of race was built by white people seeking to ensure the purity of whiteness as a way of elevating themselves above the African people they were enslaving or their descendants. This gave rise to the one drop rule, the concept that any amount of non whiteness, often imagined as black blood, disqualifies someone from being white. Reid tweeted of Obama, by every European American made conception of race, he is black, as is Miss Steele. Sorry, ma'am. Let me just say this about Joy Reid's response. I'm not surprised by it, but it is individuals like Joy Reid that embrace the one drop rule in 2021 that continues to create some of the problems that other individuals have when it comes to identity, and if someone's stealing their identity, and if they're being erased in phenotype, and these colorism problems that a lot of women of dark skin complexion, I'll talk about the ethnic group of African Americans, feel is so prevalent today. These one drop rules. The fact is, Joy Reid, there's nothing wrong with biracials identifying as biracial. Now, let me say this. I'm not biracial. But I find these topics interesting because phenotypically, similarly to biracials, I have a look that people mistake for mixed race or biracial. I've been asked many of times what my mixture is. If I have a white mom, which I don't. My mother is black. Both of my parents identify. They check the black box. So I talk about these topics because I think, like everybody else, the subject matter is really interesting. I personally don't believe in forcing biracial people to identify as black. And I will also say that Joy Reid's comment about, this disqualifies whiteness or being white, well, there was nowhere in Sage Steele comment where she said she was white. She said she was biracial. She said Obama was biracial. So nowhere in there did she herself say that she was white. And regardless of this one drop rule, she identifies as biracial. So it's really interesting, these topics, and it's something to think about, right? This has been Nurse Student Possibilities, Social Nurse.